Today in Squad Busters, I'm going to be ranking every spell from worst to best. And starting off with the worst spell in the game, we have the Royal Recruits, which is sitting nicely in F tier, where it belongs. Now you get this spell if you have a super Royal Recruit, which already is a bad troop in the game. Now this spell doesn't really do much. When you throw it on someone, it spawns in a little recruit, and at the same time, it does a tiny bit of splash damage. It's pretty bad, to be honest with you. Now that one Royal Recruit, does it do much? I mean, you could use it maybe as a distraction. It distracts for half a second, but to be honest with you, there's no really use for this spell. If you get it, just throw it away immediately and go get a better spell. Next up, we're gonna have the Skeleton Barrel. This one comes from the Super Witch, and it goes one spot above Royal Recruits, but to be honest with you, they're interchangeable, meaning they're both bad. But at least with the skeletons, you get so many more skeletons that it can be all right to throw it on somebody. You do a little bit of splash damage, you get those skeletons spawning in, and as long as your enemy isn't running a full splash DPS squad, then those skeletons can kind of distract for a little minute. Another thing those skeletons can do is they can attack other monsters around the map for you, and then maybe they drop some coins. Next up, we're moving to C tier, and we're going to be putting in the cannon. The cannon I originally put in F tier, and then I was like, you know what? It has its use cases, but when you think about it, are you going to hold onto a cannon? Is it going to save you when you're in trouble? No, it's not. You're just going to put the cannon down, and maybe it'll take out a couple troops for you, and in that time, you get some coins. We also have the furnace, a little bit like the cannon, although I'll put it above the cannon because the furnace can at least spawn in those fire spirits that do splash damage, and sometimes they'll even drop a coin. And then over time, you get some more coins, and then when the building breaks, you spawn in a bunch of fire spirits that at the same time spawn in a bunch of coins. It's really good for coins is what I'm trying to say. And I guess the splash damage, it's an annoying spell to deal with. And the last spell in C tier is going to be Dynamite's Barrel Bomb spell. At first, this was supposed to be a better bomb spell. So we have a bomb spell. This is supposed to do a little bit more damage, I guess, but it's actually kind of useless. It takes so long to blow up that if you ever throw it on somebody, they've got half a decade to respond to your threat, and then they can run away. In fact, they have enough time to probably do a little loop and then run away. It takes way too long to blow up this spell, and when you think about it, this is an ultimate troop. It's a dynamite ultimate. The difference between an ultra and an ultimate dynamite is nothing. It's not even pay to win. It's not even pay to lose. It's pay to get absolutely nothing. If you get this spell, throw it away. A bomb spell is actually better, although sometimes I'll use it in middle, drop it down, and maybe people won't want to be in middle, and therefore I can get some gems from the gem mine. But apart from that, pretty useless. We're now going to be moving on to B tier, and one of the spells I'm going to be putting in is the freeze spell. In fact, this is the normal freeze spell, a very good spell if you're in trouble. You want to drop that spell down and maybe slow someone down from attacking you, although it's not as good as its counterpart, which we'll get to in a little bit. Now, a while ago, there used to be a bug where if you drop the freeze spell in the middle of Loot Goblin Rush, all those Loot Goblins would actually take a little bit of damage and drop coins, which was amazing. Now, you can still drop a free spell in Loot Goblin Rush just to slow down the goblins so you can take them out, and that's something that I'll use the spell for sometimes. And then also if I'm scared of someone, I'll drop it down and hopefully they get stuck and don't chase me down. We also have the heal spell. It's going to go just above the free spell. To be honest with you, this isn't a spell you should really ever hold on unless you're in the spooky world and you know you have no healers, because there's so many healers in this game. You have like Poco, Medic, Pam, and then on top of that, a lot of troops can actually heal themselves or your squad for you. Trader, Mavis, etc. You should never hold on to this spell unless you're literally in the spooky world and your troops are all, well, not healing themselves. We also have Pam's healing station, which is going to go a little bit above the healing spell. Now, this spell isn't actually that bad because you can throw it down and then fight while in her healing station. And if you're fighting while in Pam's healing station, people don't want to fight you because they just know you're healing. Also, in the lava map and spooky map, healers are so important. Pam's turret spell is good. Very good, actually. It can heal you up quite quickly. We also have Jessies Turret, which you could just consider the better version of a cannon. Does more damage, shoots faster, and it is a little bit more tanky. Or at least I think it is. I actually don't know that. Now, with Jessies Turret, when you pick a Jessie from a chest, it'll automatically spawn in. But another thing you can do is if you go back to that chest again and then reopen it, it will respawn the turret and give you 3 coins for free, which is pretty good, I guess, just to get a couple coins. It's also good to take over a part of middle. If you have your Jessie at super, you get the spell, and also when you open the chest, a turret automatically spawns in. And then if you get a couple Jessies, well, then you'll notice it really starts to add up and you can take over a part of middle. And the last spell in B tier is going to be Leon's Invisibility Spell. Now, when this first came out, I thought it was good, then I thought it was bad, then I thought it was good, and now I think it's okay. It's pretty good, especially if you want to run away from somebody, because first of all, you get increased speed, so you run away from someone faster. But another thing is, while you're invisible, you cannot be hurt at all. Like, no one can take out your troops. So when you're usually running away from somebody, they'll chase you down and then they'll take out little troops one by one as you're running away. But if you have this invisibility spell, not only do you run faster, but while you're invisible, they can't even take out your troops one by one. We're now moving on to A tier spells. All the spells left in this video are spells that I will hold on to, all right? These are now hold onto-able spells. They're pretty good. And starting off, we have the lightning. Now, this is my favorite early spell, and the reason for that is because it stuns and it actually does quite a good amount of damage. If you're chasing somebody down very early in the game with maybe a hog or a barbarian, especially an ultimate barbarian, but even if you just have a decent sized squad at the start and someone else has like 1 or 2 troops, they're running away from you, throw a lightning on them, that will stun them for a good like half a second, and in that time you can finish off their troops. Next up, we have the log, again in A tier. This is one of the best spells to get someone out of your way. So let's say you're running away from someone, throw a log on them and they can get pushed back all the way. And it's also good to steal kills or blue boxes. If you ever rush a blue box early in the game and you have a log, while someone else is taking out a blue box, you can throw the log on them. It will damage the blue box to finish it off, and at the same time, it will give you more than enough space to steal those 2 blue boots. It's also good in tree giants, or honestly, any modifier where there's something you need to kill in middle. You just throw the log down and it will remove absolutely everybody out of your way. Next up, we have the bomb. A little bit like the log. You're going to use it for the same reasons as a log, just to steal a kill, etc., etc. But you can also take out carrots if you don't have a Mavis, or a tree with Greg if you don't have a Greg as well. But not much to say, a little bit like the log. We also have the Xbow spell, and this is the best turret cannon in the entire game. Does a lot of damage, very tanky, and actually, if you have an archer queen in your squad, all your long-range units attack faster, dealing more damage. This actually applies to buildings. So if you have an archer queen in your squad and you go near a cannon, a turret, or an Xbow, you'll notice it actually kind of sort of glows a little bit. Well, it means it's affected by your archer queen and it then attacks faster, doing more damage. So pretty good for that. And then the final spell in A tier is going to be the super freeze. Much better than the normal freeze. It is a complete killer to momentum. If somebody's chasing you down, throw super freeze slightly ahead, and as they're running into that super freeze, they will waste so much turbo trying to get out of it that you can just get away. It is so good just to annoy people. It's so annoying to deal with. We are now moving on to S tier. These are the 3 best spells in the entire game, and starting off, we have the normal rage spell. Now, the normal rage spell deals 60% more damage if you have it in your squad. So if you're attacking someone, the way you can think about it is if you have 60% more troops. A very deadly spell in the game, and it's often overlooked because there's the super rage spell and people know the super rage is so broken. They forget about the normal rage, but no, the normal rage is just as OP, not as OP, but still very overpowered. And now we have shrink right down here. Now at the start of playing this game, I would have put it down in F tier, and only really since last week, I've actually moved it all the way up to S tier above the normal rage spell. But the shrink spell is a very skill based spell. Now, first of all, the way it works is when you shrink an enemy, they deal 90% less damage. It pretty much makes them completely useless. They cannot damage you at all. Now, this is really good to either steal bosses in middle. You steal a boss, you throw a shrink down, they run away because they don't want to deal with your shrink, the enemy, of course. Or if you're running a farming comp like Trader, you can just throw a shrink on yourself to stop somebody from attacking you and survive the final seconds of a game. Recently, I've started playing try-hardy tournaments with a bunch of really good players who are 100% maxed out, and a lot of them are very good at holding onto the shrink until the end of a game just to use it so then they could take out 1 or 2 of my troops, or if they're running like a trader, it just stops you from attacking them. There's nothing I could do. And I've gotten very good at using the shrink recently. It is a very good spell. Now for the best spell in the entire game, I'm sure you guys have already guessed it by now, right? It's the super rage spell from the Ultra Barbarian King. The best spell in the game. You deal 100% more damage. And a way to think of this is imagine your squad is double the size. So that's a good way to think about it. 100% more damage is double damage. If you ever see someone with an Ultra Barbarian King in their squad and they pop a rage spell, assume it's a super rage. And if you don't have a rage or a shrink, because shrink will make that super rage useless, run away. I am so guilty of having a big squad running up to somebody who I know is weaker than me. They pop a super rage. I'm like, oh, I can still beat them. And then they just wipe me out because it is so broken. They deal double damage. It's as if their squad is double the size. And unless you have a shrink or a rage of your own, go away. Anyways, do you agree with my spell tier list? Let me know where you would change things if you disagree. Make sure to use code Claz in the Squad Busters shop if you ever do decide to buy anything. And check out my last video on screen right here. This is where I use every healer in the game. Well, by every healer, it's only Poco, Medic, and Pam, but I decided which one was the best. So if you want to see every healer, check this video out.